Okay, good morning everybody and welcome to the Siklu and Purdicom webinar. I'm Andrew Westerman, Sales Director for Western Europe and Siklu, and the content of the webinar today is that we're going to introduce to you the new EH-600T, which is the new 60 GHz product from Siklu. We're also going to take you through the BDUK voucher scheme, and also some applications including CCTV that we think are very relevant for this product. Okay, what we'll do is we plan to go through the slides and we will leave some time at the end for some questions. Yeah. So in terms of Siklu entered the E-band market a number of years ago with a view to making the market huge. They have a new all-silicon based design, and the company wanted to open up the market for it to become a mass market, and we're in the process of doing that right now. In terms of the price point, you know, an E-band link 5 years ago would have cost you around £25,000 to £30,000. Now it's dropped to the region of around £3,000, and you know, so it's been a huge reduction over the last few years, and that's taken the market price down across all vendors. And it's really starting to make the market a mass market now. And over the next few years, we see it growing even more and more and more. In terms of Siklu, we have become the world's leading millimeter wave company now. We have about 40% market share globally. And you can see from the table on the right that we have around 8,000 links installed now around the world. So, you know, we're by far the most deployed vendor. Many applications for the links, ranging from mobile backhaul, business broadband, CCTV backhaul, etc., etc. You can see that on the slide. And we also have a real track record with tier 1 operators. We sell to a number of big operators around the world now, and you know, we're a stable, growing company. In terms of the timeline of Siklu as a company, the company was founded in 2008. And the company then spent a number of years doing R&D and design work because they wanted to introduce an all-silicon based system in terms of lowering the cost. And in 2011, they started shipping the world's first $3,000 E-band system. And since then, you know, the market has grown very fast, and Siklu has been very successful. And we're now in 2014 just introducing our new EH-600 product in the 60 GHz V-band. And we foresee that growing very fast as well. You know, for Siklu, we're a small company based in Israel, and you know, we need to stay ahead of the curve and be different. You know, we've been different for a number of years now, and we're very determined to maintain that difference. And we've got a number of new products planned for the next few years, and we'll continue to innovate and drive the market. One of the things that makes Siklu very different from the rest of the vendors is that we actually manufacture all of the components ourselves. So you can see on the left that we manufacture the components, including the antenna, the diplexers, and the software. We then mount that on system boards and we make products. So all the way through the manufacturing process, we supply our own parts, which is very different from the other vendors, and it means that our cost base is much lower, and hence our prices are much lower. In terms of the complete offering from Siklu now, we have the EH-600T, which is a new product that we're going to talk you through very shortly. We also have an E-band FDD portfolio, and we also have a TDD portfolio. The difference between TDD and FDD is TDD is half duplex, FDD is full duplex. But the big benefit of TDD is that it's much lower cost. So typically for the enterprise market, we generally find that TDD links are often very suitable, but we often also sell a lot of FDD as well. So now we're going to move on to the new EH-600T, which is our new 60 GHz product. This is what the product looks like. It's very small, 15 centimeters square. It's the smallest product on the market. It's designed to be mounted on street columns and lampposts. And the antenna has been designed from the start up to cope with the movement of posts. So it has a 7-degree beam in elevation and 3-degree beam in azimuth. And typical applications are small cell backhaul, CCTV backhaul, business broadband, and LAN-to-LAN connectivity. Because it's 60 gigahertz, and by 60 gigahertz we mean in the frequency range 57 to 64 gigahertz. The link distance is not long. Typically you're looking at around 500 meters for this type of product. But we find that the applications that it will be used for, mounted on street works, these distances are fine. In terms of the spectrum in the UK, 60 gigahertz is unlicensed, so there's no license fee to pay to Ofcom. But because of the high oxygen attenuation of this frequency, it's naturally self-regulating, let's say, and the chances of interference are very low because the transmission distances are very short, the radio beam from the link is very narrow, so there's very small chance of interference. We've designed this product, as we say, to be mounted on street columns, so it's very light, it's very small, has very low power consumption. Currently it's a DC power product, but we're going to introduce PoE in the new year. And we're seeing a huge level of interest in this product. It's very low cost. The main competitor on the market with something similar is probably about 50% higher in terms of cost. And we have a lot of interest from ISPs, from mobile operators, from fixed operators. And so, hopefully over the next few years, we're going to see this product really grow in demand. And, interestingly, as with Siklu and the history of our E-band business, we started with TDD and then we added FDD later. The EH-600 is a TDD-based product, which means that it has a capacity of 1 gigabit, and that's half duplex. So you can configure that symmetrically, so that's 500 megabit up and 500 megabit down, or you can configure it asymmetrically. So applications like ISP, where it's download heavy, you can assign most of the capacity to the downlink, and vice versa with something like CCTV backhaul, where most of the capacity is required in the uplink, you can assign most of the capacity there. But it really is up to the user. But the default is 50-50. So in terms of the enclosure and the interfaces, the product has 3 gigabit Ethernet ports, and the reason we have 3 is to allow daisy chaining on intermediate hops, where you have one antenna facing in one direction, one in the other, and you can also add inputs from local connections such as Wi-Fi access points, small cells, etc., etc. You'll see currently it's a DC powered product, but we will add PoE in the new year, so that will come very shortly. And hopefully at that point it then becomes the complete product with a lot of options in terms of power. In terms of the alignment, Siklu is taking the approach that we need to reduce the cost of installation, because in many cases this product will be going on street columns and lampposts. And in that situation, the guys who have to install this will be the city electricians who maintain the lampposts, the guys who look after the power, and they change the light bulbs, etc., etc. Now, these guys are not wireless specialists, so we've introduced an auto alignment tool to simplify the installation, let's say, and also speed it up. So the guys can actually mount the product on a street column, they point it roughly in the right direction, and then they put the auto alignment tool on, and it aligns itself to the other end in around 15 minutes. And that makes the whole process of deployment quicker and cheaper. That's the name of the game. So in terms of EH-600 applications, as I was saying earlier, it's optimized for street level deployment. So we see a lot of application on the street level, but also we see a lot of applications on buildings and fixed mounts. So I think it's a very flexible product. Because of the distances involved, we think mainly the applications will be in cities. Distances will be quite short, the capacities will be quite high. So we see a lot of use and demand for this product within cities and urban environments. Also in terms of mobile backhaul, a lot of the mobile operators now are starting to deploy or have deployed 4G LTE. As a second step of that, they'll be deploying small cells in the city centres, and those small cells will be mounted on buildings and on street columns. So this product has been designed very much with this market in mind, and I think we'll start to see a lot of demand coming from this market over the coming years. In terms of broadband, I think the product is very good for that, where you want to extend the reach of broadband where you don't necessarily have fibre. And what it gives you is a very low cost, high capacity and quick connection. You don't have to wait for the fibre to be dug, and you can put in a 1 gigabit wireless connection very quickly, often installed in less than a day. Small cells we've talked about, we see a lot of demand from the mobile operators, and you can see a picture on the left there of a Siklu link mounted on a street column. So that's what it will actually physically look like. We also do the product in black, because a lot of the local authorities insist that anything mounted on a street column is coloured black. One piece of great PR that we had recently was the Tour de France, which started in Leeds. So Virgin Media offered citywide free Wi-Fi for the day, and they used the Siklu EH-600 as the backhaul for the Wi-Fi. So they had a number of Wi-Fi access points located on street columns around the city centre, and they used the Siklu EH-600 to backhaul that to the nearest fibre point. And we had a daisy chain of about 4 links up there through the city centre in Leeds. So in terms of street level deployment, you can see here what makes the EH-600 and indeed 60 gigahertz perfect for street level deployment. The units themselves are very small and unobtrusive, and particularly when they're mounted up a lamppost, which can be, say, 12-15 meters high, they just look like a junction box. So you can see here on the lamppost where we painted it black, the unit at the top is the 60 gigahertz backhaul, and then sat below it, pointing down at the street, is the Ruckus Wi-Fi access point. In terms of 60 gigahertz, it has really zero interference. Although it's unlicensed in the UK, the characteristics of the frequency mean that it's a very short link, and so interference is not really a problem, and it allows rapid installation and deployment. And because it's a gigabit, it's a very future-proof technology. Typically, for Wi-Fi and mobile operators, they see the need for a few hundred megabits today, but what they don't want to be doing is going back in a few years and actually having to replace the link when their capacities grow to to many more hundreds of megabits. So Siklu is taking on the approach where they want to offer a future-proof product that is capable of 1 gig, but also we can license the product as well. You can start with 100 megs and you can software license the product all the way up to 1 gig for a number of steps. We've also talked about the auto alignment, and the product and the deployment is aimed at the lowest cost possible deployment with a mass market in mind. And we're hopeful over the next few years that as you look up on street columns around the UK, you will start to see 60 gigahertz links everywhere. We're going to go on to CCTV backhaul now. So we see, because of the nature of the product and the size of it, we think the CCTV market could be very large. And having talked to a number of CCTV companies and integrators, there's a lot of demand for this product from the market, not only because of the size, but also in terms of modernizing wireless backhaul links to CCTV, where previously they were sub 6 gigahertz links, and due to the level of interference in city centres now in those bands, many users are looking for something else. And we think 60 gigahertz is at the right price point now that it can become the something else in terms of replacing sub 6 gigahertz links. So, what makes the EH-600 ideal for CCTV backhaul? It has very high capacity, 1 gigabit. It's very low latency, around 250 microseconds. The environment in the UK, 60 gigahertz is license free, or you can lightly license it as well, in the 64 to 66 gigahertz band. And what that means is that you're pretty much guaranteed an interference-free link. You can deploy it very quickly as an alternative to cable and fibre at very low cost, so you get a very quick return on your investment. And we've done a number of tests, and the EH-600 is fully compatible with IP-based CCTV cameras and encoders, and also all of the analog CCTV systems that are out there. So essentially whatever's there, you can be sure that the EH-600 is compatible with it. We've just released a case study based on Aberdeen Harbour, which is one of Purdicom's customers in Scotland. The port wanted to upgrade their CCTV backhaul system, and they chose the Siklu millimeter wave links to provide the connectivity and the capacity to do that. Purdicom has done a press release, so Siklu based on this, and you can find that on the web if you'd like to know more, but this is very recent. So now we're going to move on to the BDUK voucher scheme. This is a scheme where the government is offering £3,000 to upgrade your broadband as a business, and it's a very good scheme. It runs to the end of March 2015 and covers 22 cities across the UK. And currently there are 530 companies registered as suppliers, and 40% of those suppliers, and indeed the top suppliers published by BDUK, use Siklu links to supply the superfast broadband to companies. If you're not registered as a supplier and you want to be one, you can contact BDUK, and we've got the email address there, and register as a supplier. And what that means is companies can spend their £3,000 voucher with you, and then you hopefully spend that with Purdicom and Siklu to buy wireless links. Currently, only 7.2 million of the 200 million has been used, and the government has really had a push in the last few days to remind people that this money is available, and we think there's a lot of potential to get a lot of this cash to be used for broadband, and indeed the government is making it easier. So the changes that have just been announced is that as a business, you no longer need to fill in an application form, but you can just get hold of the grant by calling a pre-approved supplier. You only need to now get a quote from one supplier. Previously you had to get a number, and suppliers can also apply to BDUK for basically a pot of money where you want to look at covering a specific area with high-speed broadband. So you as a registered supplier, if you wanted to go into a part of the UK which has very bad broadband today and cover that wirelessly, you can apply to BDUK now for a pot of money to do that. And then once the package has been approved, you can then market this service to eligible business in that area with no more forms or approval processes to go through. So, and what it means is not much of this cash has been used to date, and the government is just making it much easier to get hold of this now. And you can check whether you're eligible. They've also got a postcode checker now on their website, so you can go into that if you've got an area in mind or an end user in mind, and find out if they're eligible for some of this money. So we recommend you use that. It's free cash that's on offer, and of course we'd like you to deliver the connections with Siklu wireless links. One of our biggest customers, and indeed one of the companies that's been the most successful in the BDUK voucher scheme, is Metronet. They're based in Manchester, and they're the second top supplier of connection vouchers on the scheme. And indeed, they deliver the vast majority of their links with Siklu wireless links. So if you're looking for a reference case, take a look at the Metronet UK website, and you can see the types of services they offer.